lost an hour last night, so I appreciate you being here on time. Thank you, those of you who are joining us on Facebook, and thank you, Terry, for being here every morning to make sure that happens for us. Thank you so much for us. So, I think I shared with you, I was at an event a few weeks back, and it was a lovely event. It wasn't just for women, but about 99% of people there were women. So it just ended up being a lovely, lovely time all day. And wherever you were sitting, whatever group of women you were around, we just kind of became a family. It was so lovely. And one of the questions that one of the ladies that was in front of me asked is, where are you from? And that's a question. That's a question that those of us who were raised in the military, with a military family, who traveled a lot, I'm an Army brat, that's what they call me. And that's my story, I'm sticking to it. And so that is a question that is difficult for me to answer. Because where I was born has no meaning or significance to me. It was on a military base, and we were there until my brother dropped me, and then we moved someplace else. So that has no meaning. And I had the opportunity to I was talking to another woman who was in a class with me, and we talked about this where are you from situation. And she talked about a TED Talk that a woman was talking about this very thing, where are you from? And what it turns out, what happens is, and Texans, you guys do this a great deal. Where y'all from? Y'all ain't from around here, are you? And everyone is kind of geocentric, really love where they're from. It's not just Texans. You guys do it, but everywhere I have been, people love where they're from. Very, very proud. But to ask somebody where they're from is actually to set them apart. And the reason most people ask where you're from is because they're so very proud of where they are. But what ends up happening is the person you're asking, I feel like I'm not good enough. Like, ask me where you're from. You're not one of us. You're from someplace else. Where you from? And I really love this question. When someone asks, where are you from? Like an Asian American. No, I'm from Chicago. No. Where you really from? I'm really from Chicago. So the point being that those kinds of innocuous questions actually adds separation. It actually adds separation from one another. And we've been talking, and this is always my talk, in different ways, about us being the one, the oneness, the connection, the sense of belonging, and that we are okay with one another. So my talk this morning is about God in everything. God in everything. And when we understand that, what does that mean? What is the value, or the point of me saying that? What is this title, God in everything? What happens is if we live as though we got that, as though we knew God was in everything, then our whole life begins to work better. Our whole life. Everyone that we're involved with, everything that we do becomes better. Because we recognize that we are one with God. And so whatever we need to know, whatever we need to do, comes through us. We don't have to think so much about it. We don't have to logic it. Because when we think just with our minds alone, and we just logic things, do you know how easy it is to rationalize something? That's what our minds do. When you're in a class, and it's a class about debate or argument, it doesn't matter which side you take, right? Oh, get back over here. It doesn't matter which side you take, because you can make an argument for either side. Because we can rationalize and pull together all kinds of reasons why the thing we want to do is right. one of the things that we've heard this a lot, we do it ourselves, but we even hear it in corporations, is they'll do a lot of research, they get a lot of information, they'll get all kinds of things come in, all kinds of information, and sort it through and say, okay, the information says this, but my gut says this. My gut says. And that is simply another way of saying the divine in me. We don't, in a corporate setting, we don't like to talk about the divine or spirituality, but that's really what's happening. The God in me tells me what I need to know, tells you what you need to know in every situation, what to do, what is right. So, if that is the case, then the question becomes, what is the value of seeing God in everything? Why do you want to do that? Why does it work? Let me ask you something. How many of you are in a relationship right now? Just everyone should be raising their hands right now because everyone is in a relationship. Everyone raise your hands. You are in a relationship. You are all the time in a relationship with at least two people. Yourself, right? You and your higher self. You are constantly talking to yourself, figuring out who it is you are, what it is that you want. You're in a relationship with that. And you're in a relationship with someone else that you may be running into right now. The people that you've hugged and said hello to or fist bumped or whatever we did this morning to say hello. We're in a relationship with someone else. And so, when we realize that God is in everything, it gives us answers. And relationships is where I'm going to start talking because this is the thing that we all have. And actually, one of the things that gives us the most trouble. Yeah? Relationship. And here's a little secret for you. Here's what I discovered. A couple of things. One, what they say an expert is. An expert is someone who has 10,000 hours doing one thing. 10,000 hours doing one thing. How many of you have at least 10,000 hours in a relationship? And how many of you feel like an expert? Yeah, oh my Lord.
It's doing it well.
Oh. Exactly.
Practice makes perfect.
Okay, practice makes
progress.
Huh? I'm an expert practicer.
Practice makes progress.
Practice makes progress. I like it. So, as we're talking about relationships and relationship building, what happens in a relationship is the thing you love, the thing that drew you to someone, is the thing that's going to drive you insane as you are in the relationship. It does. It does. My husband said to me, one of the big things, many, many reasons, but one of the big things that he loved about me was how happy I was. He wasn't used to joy, and he wanted more joy in his life. And so that's one of the big things that he wanted from me, was to show him how to be joyful. What I love so much about him, among the many, many things that I did and still do love about him, is his teaching ability. He's a huge teacher. Anyone here who knows him knows that he starts teaching even if you're not interested in learning. So, drove me insane. And when he teaches, he spends whatever time that's necessary for you to understand. He'll spend all that time, whether it's an hour, days, weeks. And so that is something, and so what happens is, as I understand that, what I remember, seeing the divine, knowing that we are one, we are connected, I remember that what he is doing is what I love. And I return to love. We return to what we know, which is love. This is someone I love, and this is the thing that he does, which I love so very much. And I remember and focus on that. That is what Spirit has asked me to do when I am in a relationship and I'm thinking, oh my God, How do I make this work? That's my prayer. How do I make it work? I remember reading an article, it was years ago, like in the 50s, even 40s. I remember Ann Landers. It was an old article of hers. You have your Ann Landers, it could be even the same person, I don't know. But it was an article, and the wife was saying that, you know, her husband would go to work, and obviously in the 50s she was a housewife. Husband would go to work, he'd come home, she fixed all the food for him. He would come home, have a drink, sit in front of the television, driving her crazy. No discussion, no talking. And she asked, what do I do? I love this man. What do I do about this? And Ann Landers' remark, or her response was, love him. I'm reading that, I'm thinking, what do you mean? How? He's aggravating. And I get that. I know I can be aggravating. I get that. So how do you love someone through that? Spirit told me exactly the same thing. When you are looking at someone and they're beginning to aggravate you, love them. You just have to look at them with the same eyes of love you looked at them from the very beginning. It's still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. You love them. We love each other. That is what understanding and knowing the divine in everything allows us to do, to see through that. I was coming back from, I'm going to tell that story in a second. So how do we do that? How do we continue to see the divine when one of the easiest things that occurs, and so easy for us to forget about love, is when we have these little conversations or these little connections with people. At the grocery store, the wait staff, just someone who comes in and out of your life very quickly and easily. We have other things on our minds. It's easy not to see them as people. So how do we, and as someone to love, as a divine person? Because everyone is looking to be loved. Because loving someone means I see you, I accept you, you're okay with me. That's what it means to love somebody. I see you, I hear you, I accept you, I love you exactly where you are. For everyone that we see. So how do we do that? Well, we do it no matter what is happening. No matter what. So what this means, I looked this up, no matter what. On the internet, you can look anything up. Just put, right? And what it said was that you are willing to do what it takes, regardless of the obstacles that might be in your way. And when I looked at it from New Thought perspective, what it said was, this will kill you. You are willing to do what it takes, no matter what obstacles you put in the way. What now? Say what now? No matter what obstacles you put in the way. I think that gives us power when we see it that way. Whatever obstacles are there, whatever obstacles to loving someone, are things we've put in the way. I was on my way back from TCC South, taking a class on a Tuesday afternoon. It's 4 hours. So I was getting out of there about 4:30. We got out a little bit early. And I was coming up the 20, going east and going to go north on the 35 at 4:30 in the afternoon. So you know how crowded it was. It was crazy. So I'm trying, and there's a little bit of space to get off that off-ramp from the 20 and get over to the 35. Otherwise, you're going back. Is it the 80? What, H1? I'm not sure what you're going back on, but you're not going on the freeway you want. You've got to get all the way over to the left. Of course, everybody's zooming up on the left, and it's hard to get over. And of course, you can't put your blinker on, because that just means go faster to the person behind you, apparently. It's kind of a Texas speak thing. So I saw a little space, and I just jumped in. I had my blinker on, and I jumped in, and I knew the person was really upset because they stayed on my bumper. And then, okay, there's it. So she got over and went around, and I know she didn't look at me when or he, I didn't even know if it was he or she, I still don't know. But when they went around, I just looked at her, flashed the peace sign, and smiled. And they Didn't help them, but it helped me. It helped me because I got to love them anyway, right? I got to love them anyway. And I don't know whether that peace sign, it definitely pissed her off at that point. But maybe she'll think about it later. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. It's not about her. It's about me. It's about you. So what we get to do is to claim our lives and who we are, which is why we talk so much about core values, examining your life, and wherever you go, taking that idea of who you are, that awareness with you everywhere you go based on what you've claimed. I claim that I am a loving, compassionate, caring individual. That's what I claim. So I get to look at other people and say, okay, what's happening? Poor baby. She's clearly in a hurry, probably late for work. I don't know, I can make up all kinds of stories. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What I get to do, what your choice is how do you show up? How do you show up? So how we love everyone is no matter what. We make a commitment to be what we say and who we say we are based on our core values. How do you want to show up? If I say I'm love and compassionate, do I get to flip this woman off when she goes by? Or do I get to flash her a peace sign, wave at her, give her a smile? And even if it wasn't something as if she was angry, I love smiling at people. Who in here has smiled at someone and gotten a smile in return? Right. It's not just here. This is an international sign. That was the biggest comment over my singing, over everything else that I did, the smiling. That's what everyone commented about. There is not one person in all my travels, even if I had to smile a long time through their frowning, that they didn't turn around and smile back. Not one person. That is my commitment over the obstacles or seeming obstacles. So what is your commitment? To living this life of knowing the divine, no matter what obstacles you put in the way. No matter what obstacles you put in the way. Who do you need to love? Turn to your neighbor right now and say, neighbor. Turn to your neighbor right now and say, neighbor, I love you. Turn to the other neighbor and say, neighbor, I see you. I see you. Right? It feels as good to the receiver as it does to the giver. You cannot give without receiving and vice versa. So we give whatever it is, the love, however it shows up, whatever that commitment is, show up as you. Whatever you have defined as you, that's what we get to do, no matter what. We define our core values and we, of course, prayer and contemplation. Because I'm always asking God, what is this about? What's my role in this? How do I show up? How should I show up here? In line with who I say I am. Who I say I am. That's what we get to do. So, our vision moving forward. The reason we live this way. The reason we see God in everything we do. It's not that it makes our life so much easier. It's that it makes it deeper and peaceful and fills you with hope. Hope. Do you know that without hope you simply cannot survive? You have to have hope. Think about it. Think about that. What is a hopeless life? It isn't one. And that's what being on this spiritual path, seeing this connection with everyone else, gives us hope. It deepens our connection and our understanding and our spirituality. Okay? It deepens that. And it brings peace. Because I know the answers are here for me. I know it. They're here for me. What do you know? What do you know? What do you know? So this is about having a good life. Okay? Just have a good life. That's what it's about. We bring this good consciousness, the God consciousness, we are connected. What our job is, what our role is to be consciously aware. People always ask, how do bad things happen? If we're all connected, and it's all God, and it's all good, why and how do bad things happen? Because we don't keep our consciousness and our faiths towards the good, towards the light, in us and in everyone else. And that's all we're here to do, our part. What's your part? What do you want to do? Have a great life. Be loved and be love. Love everyone you see, including yourself. And have a great life.